Hello and welcome to Third Act Film. Today we're capping off the year by talking about the most disappointing films of 2015. Here with me is Todd James.
Hello.
And I'm James Forbes.
Hello, James.
Todd, kick us off.
Okay. Anyone who follows Third Act Film knows exactly what I'm going to start with. You know exactly what I'm going to start with.
Yeah.
Not just the most disappointing film of this year, one of the most disappointing films of all time. Spectre.
Yes. You did not like Spectre.
A lot of people didn't like it, but So, there are only two films this year, the other one I'll mention later, that I've come out of being physically angry at how bad it was.
Yeah.
And one of them, unsurprisingly, considering where the sentence is going, was Spectre.
Yeah.
And I just...
Why? Elaborate.
There are
is
too
it the
many
tentacle
reasons.
porn scene?
That is a horrible scene.
Or is it
it's just that
the funeral rape?
That I hated the funeral rape. Yes, pretty much everything about it was bad in my opinion.
Yeah,
and it was not a good portrayal of the character. A lot of it didn't make sense, like just logically.
Yeah,
there was huge disparity in. I get that they were trying to do a bit more like the old-fashioned Bond. But you can't then go like super modern, but have like a 60s throwback in the same scene sort of thing.
They were trying to do a lot. For some reason, it both came off as a film trying too hard and really lazy.
Yeah.
It was so weird. Like they were like, okay, well, we've listened to the fans and they want more comedy, so let's get the cast involved. Let's get the rest of the side characters.
Let's have some hilarious jokes.
Yeah.
There was one funny joke in it.
Or I guess that's why you're called C. That joke.
Okay, there were two funny jokes in it. That one. And the other one's not even a joke. It was just when Q was like, I said bring it back in one piece, not bring back one piece. And that was just, that's not even funny. It was just his delivery.
No.
And it was just a complete low point of not just the Daniel Craig films, I feel like of the franchise as a whole.
Yeah.
And when your franchise is 24 films long, that's saying something.
And it was the longest Bond, most expensive Bond.
Yeah. And for some reason, I had high hopes for it, even though I don't like Skyfall at all. I haven't really liked any of the Daniel Craig Bonds, but for some reason I was like, this time, and it didn't. It was a huge pile of tut. Right.
Spectre was also on my list.
Right.
Unlike Todd, I did like Skyfall. I thought that was really well done. I thought it was a great homage to, how many years was it? 50 years?
50, yeah.
And I loved it. It was a great celebration of Bond. But with this one, again, they tried too hard with certain stuff. But then, Daniel Craig did not care. If you look at his facial expressions through the whole film, it's just like, I don't want to be here.
Considering as well, for Casino Royale, he got like BAFTA nominated. Like one of the first, I think he might even have been the first Bond to be like nominated for an award.
Definitely first Bond to be taken seriously, yeah. Anyway, moving on. Next one for me, Tomorrowland.
Disappointing.
It's one of my favourite films this year, but man, I was disappointed.
It
had so much potential and squandered it.
You see, most people were disappointed with Tomorrowland by the fact that it was kind of boring and then didn't really go to Tomorrowland. You always saw, after you saw it, you were like, oh, I loved it. It was so good.
Yeah.
But you thought it was going to be one of the best films of all time.
I honestly thought, I was like, this is it. It's the world of tomorrow. Maybe there's going to be... I didn't expect a message, that's a heavy-handed message to be thrown at us in it, which I didn't mind. But, I don't know, just like expecting it. It's Brad Bird. He did The Incredibles.
Yeah.
He's a good director. He did one of the Mission Impossibles. Four? Gross Protocol, which I love as well. And it's got George Clooney, it's got Hugh Laurie, and I'm loving every element to this.
Yes, you're doing well at showing your opinion.
Yeah. And then, bam!
Yeah.
Watch it, and I'm just like, you have to forgive a lot whilst you're watching. I shouldn't have to. This is a Brad Bird film. I shouldn't have to sit there and like, I would just ignore how that doesn't make sense, how this is really
Tomorrowland for an hour. It's fine. Yeah. Yeah, I quite like Tomorrowland. I liked it a lot more than some people. But I remember the first time I watched the very first trailer, and it had her like touch that button for the first time, and then when she turned around and saw it, and I was like, this trailer is so good
because it was so subtle. It was just like, oh, here's one element in this film.
Yeah.
And you thought, well, if that's just one of the devices that come from Tomorrowland, what more?
If that's what they're showing us in the first trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should have learned. All right. Yeah. Have you got another one?
I've got plenty more. Right. I'll get the other one that made me physically angry this year out of the way. As I said before, American Sniper. Now, much like with what you're saying, or what I said about Tomorrowland, the first trailer for American Sniper, where it was basically just a scene, and it had him looking through the scope of his gun, and he sees like a little kid carrying his rifle. It's a rifle's a gun, like carrying a bomb.
Yeah,
and it was like so tense. Him being like, "Do I shoot this kid?
Yeah,
who might?" And it was And then when that scene's in the actual film, it's a worse version of the trailer.
And that's it had different music, I believe.
Yeah.
The trailer had this really suspenseful music,
just like
where you can see his trigger finger about to pull, and you're like, "Don't do it, man. Is it worth it?" But then if he doesn't do it, they kill his friend.
Yeah.
And you're having all of these million thoughts in this like 5-second clip, and then when they have the film, they change the music, and it's kind of like, oh, maybe I won't shoot him, and you're like, the whole meaning to it is just gone. And that was the whole film as well. It was a celebration of it pretty much sounds like a fictional war hero. If they had done it with Rambo, like a modern day Rambo, I probably would have forgiven the film more. I'd be like, oh, Rambo.
Yeah. There was a bit too much of, and I get that he is a hero to a lot of Americans.
Yeah.
But it was shown so unrealistically.
Yeah.
And it was meant to be so. Yeah, it didn't feel like a biopic. At no point of it. It was just like, look at this work of fiction that's also boring. Yeah.
There was no real depth. And the thing about that film that annoyed me the most was his story is actually excellent. A guy, a guy who has done so many tours. He's done like one of the soldiers who do most tours. Done so many tours. Had like a hit. He had like millions of dollars on his head. He got a name for himself in the countries he was going to for being this great sniper, and the fact that he was constantly going into war zones, but he dies on American soil. That is a story, and they
spoilers. For the real life story of Chris Kyle. Yeah,
this is a real life story, but like he died on American soil, and it's just such a bigger message that because the statistics support that more Americans die on more American soldiers die on American soil than they do, not from old age, because that'd be sweet. They're like, oh, he lived a ripe old age, no problems. No, like from gun violence, from suicide and stuff like that. Then they do when they go on tours, and it's just they miss that point completely. Yeah, and they were just like, oh, let's just exaggerate a lot of the things he'd done,
and like the Oscar buzz, Clint Eastwood, Bradley Cooper, it all sort of combined to be like, this should have been great.
Yeah.
All right, what you got for me?
You're not gonna like this, but Jupiter Ascending.
Okay.
Gosh, that was a bad film. What was the point? Literally, I'm ruining it, and I don't care, because save yourself, all right? Do not watch this film. You get to the end, and pretty much none of it actually happened.
That's just not true.
What do you mean it's not true? None of it happened. There was no consequences to anything that happened. She then owned the planet, and like, okay, who does that matter to?
Loads of films, they don't have consequences.
But this was throughout. They kept on showing you, oh yeah, no consequences, no consequences. They had an average, below average chase scene with like spaceships, and they were blasting buildings and killing hundreds of people, and they're like, oh, we just repair it all.
I like that scene. Alright, for people listening, I quite like Jupiter Ascending. I get that it's one of the most hated films of this year, but I thought it was pretty decent. It could have been much better, obviously.
Yeah.
But I don't really get where all the hate comes from.
I'll tell you where the hate's come from.
Don't say Eddie Redmayne. Don't you say it.
Jeez, he should have lost that Oscar.
No.
They should have taken their like,
he was
did you do that? Let me take that back.
He was good in that film. He was given a character to play by the directors.
It was stupid. It did not match the tone, which they didn't even have a tone.
He was playing like a 10,000-year-old man.
I feel like they literally told him a different film. And they're like, go on. As a prank. It felt like a prank. They told
Mila Kunis a different film. She was all over the place.
What did Mila Kunis even do? She wore like 10 different dresses for no reason.
Great. No, she was awful. She was awful. I would rather it was just the Channing story.
Yeah.
If they could have just edited her out, it would have been a much better film.
One of my main gripes as well as that there's no consequences throughout the film, is that they have a boring circumstance. So like she is a cleaner who cleans toilets.
Mm-mm.
To show how unglamorous her life was before she now becomes this important person. But they show us her cleaning the toilet.
For like 30 seconds.
Not for 30 seconds.
Maybe 2 minutes.
It's more than 2 minutes. You know it is.
I'd say 2 minutes.
You know it's more than 2 minutes. We see multiple toilets of her scrubbing away.
It's a montage.
Yeah, I know it's montage. I don't need to see it. Just tell me.
But that means it worked. You got the feeling that she had a boring life.
Yeah.
That means it worked.
Okay, maybe I would have forgiven it if they'd done it once. But oh no, they did it again when you had they were going through like the kind of like universe DMV for
that
planetary.
scene was bad.
And they were saying, oh, how boring this all is by showing us how boring it is. And now I sound boring by talking about how boring that bloody film was and such a waste of time. Ugh. Anyway, moving on.
Speaking of boring films, Macbeth.
I missed this one. I did want to see it.
That's unlucky. So, I was pretty excited for Macbeth. I mean, when a Shakespeare adaptation is good, it's great. And this one should have been. You know, the trailer looked like it was at least going to look really cool. Michael Fassbender, who doesn't like him?
Love him.
I mean, it had, the supporting cast as well was great. Director, I hadn't really seen anything of his, so I can't really judge. But the fact that he got handed Assassin's Creed off the back of Macbeth, I was like, how bad can this be?
Yeah. And it's weird that we assume Assassin's Creed is good.
Well, no, you assume that... I assume that...
Given a film.
If somebody's given a big project.
It might just be because it was crap, and they knew, well, we could just charge him 2p and he'll do it.
Yeah, like, he'll bend to our every whim. But I remember the exact point in my mind that I knew I was going to hate it. And it was in the opening scene.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, really early on. So we've just sat through like the studio logos, like a solid minute. I'm like, get them out of the way. That's fine. So the opening scene, there are two armies charging towards each other. Spoilers for the opening scene of Macbeth. And it shows them running. And then it cuts to them all in slow motion. And I was like, I get it. Like, that's, stylistic.
Think, yeah.
Then it cuts back to them running. And then it goes to slow motion again. And I was like, okay, I get it. Two armies, showing that they're both feeling the same. Sure. And then it cuts to them running again. And then it goes to them in slow motion again. And I was like, okay, this film's style over substance. And we're like 2 minutes in. Yeah. I already knew I'm going to hate this film.
Oh, dear.
And it just got more and more boring. And they got rid of the two most iconic bits of Macbeth's story, or they changed it. They didn't have Lady Macbeth doing the whole blood on my hands thing, spots of blood.
Okay.
And
a bit weird.
They didn't have three witches. They
had one.
They had 4 to 6, depending on the scene.
Oh, right.
And I was just like, what were you think? Just everything about it, every choice that was made was wrong, basically.
But was Fassbender good?
When they're basically speaking a language that you don't speak, it's much harder to tell if the performance is good. So it's one of those films where if I'd really enjoyed it, I probably would have been like, wow, fantastic, magnetic performances. But because I hated it, I'm like, I don't know if they were good because I didn't watch it enough.
You weren't.
The high point came when I left the film to go to the toilet.
Oh, wow.
That was and this from a film that I had high hopes for.
Oh, dear. Wow.
Beat that. What disappointed you
wow.
more than that?
I'll tell you what disappointed me. I'll save that right to the end. But
okay.
The next one, Chappie, which is another film I liked, but it's still a disappointment.
Okay. I can see that. Yeah.
I love robots. Okay. All right. I love robots. I love robot films. I love any kind of film that is exploring that kind of, hinting towards the next evolutionary step for mankind. What is consciousness?
Mm-hmm.
I am consciousness. I am alive. I am Chappie.
You are also racist now. Right.
And I love all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were doing this film, and you're like, okay, yeah, I'm going along with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just more for me, spoilers for Chappie, spoilers for every film we're talking about, pretty much.
Yeah.
But towards the end, they suddenly get into a territory which is a whole film in of itself, where they're able to download consciousness and upload it into a new body.
Mm-hmm.
And that they do that as, is it the last shot?
It's like once the credits have already started, they do that.
And I'm like, what?
Oh no, they do it a little bit before.
Oh yeah, with Dev Patel.
Yeah.
And then equally, so they've done one point where they've transferred him into a robot, Dev Patel. Then they've transferred a character who had died into a robot.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh my god, this person is living beyond their body.
Yeah.
Hello? Can we talk about this?
Yeah.
Can we see one more second of footage?
The thing about Chappie is that Chappie 2 would have been amazing.
Maybe, yeah.
And I think the other thing, I as well liked Chappie, but I didn't. It had some big flaws.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's disappointing about Chappie is that this is where I like Chappie and Elysium, but this is the point where Neil Blomkamp went from being what an amazing director to being like, maybe that was the fluke.
It's so weird, isn't it? We all were like, District 9, just so great. Such a great film. This guy's going places. Does Elysium like, all right, rocky road,
not
but
as
we'll
good,
get there.
still decent sci-fi.
Not bad. And then we get Chappie like, oh, come on, man. You're just doing the same film again. Like, come on.
I get it. Okay, like a post-apocalyptic South African setting. Okay, cool. Yeah.
But then it does have some really great scenes in it, which then cloud my memory of it, because I remember those, like when they're raiding, you have all of these police robots raiding this drug cartel.
Yeah. But then,
that was great.
And I think about that, but I don't think about, Ninja and Yolandi wearing their own clothes, completely breaking the fourth wall, dancing to their own music.
Yeah.
That was a strange choice.
Should have just not have got those two actors. It would have been so much better. But
true.
He loves rap.
Yeah. Okay.
Done.
I've got this one will be covered pretty quickly. Child 44.
Oh, hello. Yeah, we saw that together, didn't we?
We did. I think we had a little nap together during it as well.
That was hella boring.
Yeah, that's literally all there is to say about it. It was Tom Hardy, Noomi Rapace, I want to say.
Yeah.
Gary Oldman, I'm sure like a bunch of other great actors.
Yeah.
And you were like, great, like Russian Cold War thriller.
Yeah.
Should be great. And it was just dull.
It was just really dull.
That's really all there is to say.
But then I feel like, so was Soviet Russia. I think we said this when we left. You're like, well,
it was a fantastic depiction of Soviet Russia.
It was spot on that.
Yeah.
Very grim, boring, just nothing happening.
Yeah, it was just boring, and I felt like it was going to have like amazing acting and stuff, and maybe it did. I was just too bored by the time it happened.
It was. I can see how that makes a good book. When you're,
that's always a bad thing to say about a film.
The kind of recurrent phrase that was being said is that there's no murder in paradise, and that Soviet Russia is supposedly paradise. So how can you have a murder investigation if murder isn't allowed to exist?
Like, fantastic idea.
It's a brilliant idea.
Intriguing.
And you can see all of the pitfalls and the struggles to try and convict a child murderer, which is like scum of the earth.
Like 44 children this person has murdered.
Yeah.
And your boss is
spoilers.
Saying, bloody hell, Jim.
Yeah.
And your boss is saying, no, it didn't happen.
No, murder does not happen. Like, well, it does.
Like, imagine how annoyed you'd be if you were like, that person hit me in the face. And people were just like, no. Yeah. Now imagine 44 children have been murdered. You're going to be upset about it.
Yeah. And even with a child murderer, I didn't really hate him that much.
I didn't care. I can't remember who it was.
I loosely remember his face.
Oh, it was Paddy Considine. Oh, spoilers. Oh, you know what? It's boring. You're not going to care by the time it gets there.
And pretty much this list is more of a list of films to avoid as well.
Yeah. Ish, yeah. All right, give me another one.
Have you got any more?
I've got, like, a bunch more still. Should I get through a couple quite quickly?
Go on.
All right. Sinister 2. Disappointing horror film. The first one was, like, not amazing, but, like, a really good horror film, I think. And, you know, gave me the heebie-jeebies, and this one was just a complete run-of-the-mill, boring sort of rehash, which kind of went against the first one.
Oh.
Pan was
Peter Pan.
That one, yes.
Yeah. Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, I had real hope for it, and the closer to the film it got, the more sort of childish the adverts got.
Yeah.
And then I found out it was a PG, and I was like, I'm not sure I like where this is going. But I still had hope for it. I was like, you know, reimagining it had some really cool visuals. And then you get into the film and it's just kind of, just a lot of weird choices, weird creative choices were made.
Don't they sing Smells Like Teen Spirit in it?
Yes, like a big
and it's
group
not a
of like miners. Not miners like children, although there are children there.
Yeah.
I mean like coal miners. They're like, here we are. And then Hugh Jackman's just like walking along, like camping it up, like, entertain us. Like, it was just bizarre.
And it's not a musical.
No, but there are 2 songs in it.
Yeah, really weird.
And I get why a lot of the choices were made, but just a lot of them were wrong. That's it, yeah. Anyway, so those 2 I just rattled off quite quickly. Give me another one.
All right, this is my last one.
Do you want to save this one for last? Okay, yeah. I'll do one more, just quickly. Mockingjay Part 2. Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2.
I was considering that, but...
It was just a shame that a franchise that has... you know, defied a lot of the naysayers, if you like, ended on the lowest point. You could really feel that there wasn't a whole film there. It just wasn't as exciting as a franchise, as the end of a franchise as you kind of wanted it to be.
Yeah. They didn't really, like, their version of upping the stakes was to attack the city, and you're promised that, and you're like, this is it, all 13 districts, uniting together to attack the capital. Let's do it. Yeah. You miss all of that.
Yeah, I never
sorry to ruin that for anyone. But you will not. You're not given what you've kind of been promised. That it's all of them, everyone getting involved, big out war, nothing like that. In fact, they take down the stakes and being like, actually, the characters we're following are going to be hanging back. And
in fact, you know, it doesn't even have to get bigger in scale if the drama is bigger.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't.
No.
Especially after how good... Because I watched Part 1 and Part 2 back to back. And Part 1, it just reminded me how well made that one was. It was
shocking. No one expected that. No one.
And for a film that's 90% talking, it was... And anyway... Yeah, just a bit...
It missed the Hunger Game. They needed some Hunger Game in there.
Yeah.
Give me some hunger.
Give me that games. All right, your last one. You've been saving this one. I got a feeling it's going to be a doozy.
Yeah.
Lay it on me.
I've got 2 words for you. Fantastic and 4. It's not the 4th Fantastic film. Thank God. Well, actually, no, it's the 3rd one, isn't it?
It's the 4th if you count the 1990s one.
Oh, yeah. The 4th Fantastic Four film. And the worst. No. It is simply the worst. I knew you would disagree with me on this one. We've had a whole hour debate on this. We almost committed suicide.
We recorded that at like 1 a.m.
Yeah. But that film is disrespectful to the art of filmmaking.
What? Actually.
Yeah. It's definitely disrespectful to the comic book genre, the comic book movie. They have worked so hard to get any form of respect, and now it's like the biggest film genre out there, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll just do this half-ass, and just, you know, people are like, yeah, we know what comic book films are about. No, you don't know. You have the director who managed to make half of a film, and luckily
the good half.
Luckily for us, they showed us the exact point when the studio stepped in.
The moment when the screen goes black, it might have just, instead of saying 1 year later, just said studio interference.
Studio interference.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see exactly when the studio came in. And then the studio... So you just have two halves of a film that are both bad. You have one half of the film, the first half, of just this really boring, longed out introduction to characters we already know. Then you have the last half, where they kind of like, okay, so this is what you wanted, just a big fight right at the end. You're like, no, I want there to be a challenge. I want each character to overcome something. I want a journey. I want to see where they've begun, where they're going to end. Instead, they just like, let's punch this guy. Why? Let's punch him. Yeah, it's clobbering time.
The end fight made no sense. It didn't make any sense.
But that was literally, they're like, how much money do we have? Okay, we've got like 2p. All right, just, you can see.
Put something together.
Yeah. They're just like, just do something where they all, in a desert and they punch. And that's it. And that's the whole film.
Yeah. I quite liked Fantastic Four. Me and nobody else in the world.
Yeah.
I get the criticisms, but you see, for me, with all the horrible news stories and with all the bad early reviews that were only allowed to come out 12 hours before the film was released or something like that.
Yeah.
I thought it exceeded expectations because my expectations have been lowered so much.
So for me, why it's most disappointing is that Fox make X-Men. X-Men is top in the game. X-Men is really weird statistics that they do one really fantastic film and then they kind of do a couple of crap ones. Then amazing, you forget the crap one. And I'm like, Fox, you're back. You're back in the game. Days of Future Past was amazing. First Class was amazing.
This was like meant to be the delicious filling of the X-Men sandwich that was Days of Future Past and Apocalypse. This was like a nice little taster in the middle, which ended up...
And all it had to be was just good. So then when they eventually do X-Men and Fantastic Four, then we could be like, oh, I know who those guys are, and I know who these guys are. Let's see them fight for a bit and then team up and fight some common enemy.
Any property with Marvel, with the Marvel banner on it, is a guaranteed hit, and they managed to make a film that wasn't a hit.
Yeah. It's disrespectful. It really is. It's if I did a sequel to a beloved film...
The Wizard of Oz. Let's say you made The Wizard of Oz 2, James's Fantasy.
Yeah, and I was like, literally, guys, I have the rights from the original makers. I've got their logos everywhere. This is the quintessential.
Legit sequel.
This is legit sequel. And then I just fired all over it.
The Cowardly Lion, you say? No. It's going to be a monkey.
Yeah. It's going to be a monkey. And one of them likes music, and that's their defining feature. Anyway, before I get into a rant.
Yeah.
That's it, isn't it?
Yeah. So there were plenty more disappointing films, but those are sort of the cream.
We got plenty more 2015 videos, either out or coming out. So be watching out for that. And then we've got a bunch of 2016 ones coming out.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. I've been James Forbes.
And I've been Todd James. Bye.
Can I fire, please? And the Captain America's are like, hold it. Hold it.
There are some cool characters in the prequels. I think they made the best film possible out of the source material.
Okay.